Let me ask you some questions this morning. And you don't have to answer it out loud, you can just sort of answer it to yourself in your heart. Why are you here? Why are you here? Why do you go to church? If you think about it, the answer, I go to church, is kind of like I go to the movies, I go to the game, I go to see a show, I go to church. And, there was this, when I was still a minister in Johannesburg, not far from us, there was one of these mega churches, one of these big churches. It was actually called the Dome because it looked literally like a mushroom dome. And this guy, I was waiting in a line somewhere, and he recognized me as being one of the ministers in the area in Boxburg. And he came to me and he just said to me, I would like you to pray for me. I go to church, and he kept on going, I go to church, but I would really, I just feel that I need someone to pray for me. I said, okay, you go to church, which church do you go to? He said, well, I don't really know the name, but it's that Dome kind of church. And that wasn't the name of the church, but everyone knew it as the Dome Church. I said, all right, well, tell me who's your pastor, what's his name? And sort of like, I can't remember, Jack, James, John, I can't remember. I said, okay, and I said to him, okay, do you go to a cell group? Do you belong to a cell group? And he says, well, no. And I said to him, well, do you serve in any ministry? Are you involved in the church? Do you serve anywhere? He says, no. Well, I said to him, well, when was the last time that you went to this church? And he said, well, and this is about November that happened. And he said, well, I think it was probably Easter. And that's when my strategy to minister to him actually changed. And I prayed for him, and we talked for a while, and I told him something that he probably wasn't expecting me to say to him. And it's probably the very same thing that some of you this morning are not expecting me to say to you. And what I told him is, maybe what you need to do is you need to stop going to church. Stop going to church. And his expression was, sort of like some of you. Because what I wanted him to see is the very same thing that some of us need to see and understand. You see, God's highest calling for us as followers of Christ was never to go to church, not to go to a building. God's highest calling isn't to go to a destination, but to be conformed into His image. Okay? Christ never said you need to go to church, but He did say that you need to be planted in a church. Okay? So I want you to just look at these two things. One is stop going to church, and the other one is you need to be planted in the church. In other words, you need to be the church. You need to be a light shining into a dark world. God's highest calling is never to go to church, but to be planted in the house of God. To be sent out into the world. Maybe instead of going to church, it's time to be planted in the house of God. Now, where does this language come from? Well, can I ask George to put up Psalm 91? It says, the righteous will, what? Like a palm tree, it will grow like a cedar of Lebanon. The righteous will flourish. The righteous will flourish like a palm tree they will grow like the cedar of Lebanon. Let's talk about that for a few minutes. They're going to grow like a palm tree and like a cedar, and they're going to be flourish. What does the word flourish means? The word flourish isn't a word that we use a lot in any of our language, okay? At least I don't use that word often in my vocabulary. I mean, if you come to me one day and say, "Hi, how are you doing?" I'm not going to answer and say, "Well, actually, to be honest with you, I'm flourishing." Okay? You're not going to say, I'm not going to say that. I don't think any of you have ever gone to, especially if you're a guy, went to another guy in the gym and sort of like say, "Hey, bro, you're good. Eh? You've got muscles, you look like you're flourishing." Okay? I don't think you will stay in that gym for too long. But you know, flourishing isn't a word we often use, but it's really a great imagery of what happens when you are planted. And what does flourishing mean? It means thriving. It means growing. It means prospering. It means being a blessing. It means having spiritual growth. That you literally, when you are righteous, when you are planted, you are thriving. You are prospering. And the psalmist compares it to two trees, like a cedar and a palm. Now the cedar tree were well known for their durability. They were known for being a pleasant tree to look at, and they were also known to be a pleasantly smelling tree. For example, when Solomon built his temple, he made the columns of the temple, the posts of the temple, the beams of the temple, the roof of the temple, he made it out of cedar because his building was designed to last for centuries. Cedar is durable. And if you have a cedar chest made out of cedar wood, it's attractive, it smells good, and it will last forever. So we are being compared to a flourishing like a cedar that is durable, that is strong, that is lasting, and like a palm. Now what was a palm branch of a palm tree? Always symbolized victory. Remember when Jesus marched into Jerusalem and he rode on a donkey? What did they have in their hands? Palm. We flourish, we are triumphant, we are victorious. In the Corinthians Olympic Games, whenever someone would win the game, they would be presented with a palm branch. Congratulations, you are a champion. Here's a branch. That's where we got that Euro medals later on. It was a gold medal in those days. It was known as a triumphal entry when Jesus marched into Jerusalem. Here comes the king. So what did they do? They waved palm branches. You see, the righteous will flourish. So approaching someone says, "How you doing, bro?" "Well, I'm flourishing. I'm growing. I'm blessed. I'm strong. I'm stable. I'm pleasant to be around." Both trees, the cedar and the palm, are evergreen, all year round. In other words, there is love, there is strength, there is victory, there is fruit. How are you doing? I'm flourishing, I'm blessed, I'm prospering, I'm growing. The righteous will flourish. The righteous will flourish like a palm tree. They will grow like the cedar of Lebanon. The scripture says, those who are planted in the house of the Lord, they will flourish in the courts of our God. Scripture does not say those who are going to church will flourish, but those who are planted in the house of the Lord will flourish in the courts of God. I love the imagery. It carries on and says, they will still bear fruit in your old age. Amen. Amen. There we go. They will stay fresh and green. That's encouraging to me as every year passes. It's long as I'm planted, I will continue growing. I will continue strengthening. I will continue being encouraged. See, they're going to proclaim, the Lord is upright. He is my rock. Those who are planted in the house of the Lord, they will flourish. They are blessed. They are prospering. They are connected. They are emotionally engaged. They are making a difference. They are fulfilled and they are flourishing. Unfortunately, many of us, if we were using that language, you wouldn't use the word flourishing. Instead, you will say, I'm not spiritually flourishing, but you will say, honestly, I'm spiritually dry. Instead of saying I'm thriving emotionally, some would say I'm emotionally withering away. Instead of saying I'm connected relationally, some of you would say, well, I'm relationally barren. Instead of saying I'm prospering financially, with breathing space room for blessing, some of us would say financially I'm hurting and restrained. Instead of saying I'm fulfilled spiritually, making a difference, full of joy, so many people say I'm still searching, reaching, longing, hoping for that thing, that something, that buzz, that relationship, that job, whatever it is. I go to church, but I'm not flourishing. But those who are planted are those who flourish. So what do we need to recognize? Well, we need to recognize that your life is like a seed. Your life is like a seed. And what does that mean? That means a seed has tremendous potential, doesn't it? A seed has the potential to grow, to thrive, to multiply, to bear fruit, to be a blessing to others. But a seed that is not planted has the potential to be dormant, unproductive, unfruitful, dissatisfied. Your life, my life, is a seed. Now let me give you a couple of principles of planting and a seed. The first one is this. What do we know about a seed? A seed can only grow if it is planted. A seed can only grow if it's planted in the ground. Who flourishes in the scripture? Those who are planted in the house of God. In fact, Jesus tells us this powerful story known as a parable in Matthew chapter 13. Maybe you've heard many sermons, no doubt about it. He was talking about a farmer, and he uses the word a sower, a word that his listeners would have understood who was a sower. And he said a sower went out to sow and to plant. Some of the seeds, and the sower threw the seeds out. And some of the seeds fell on a path, on a hard ground. And since the seed couldn't take the root, birds came along and stole the seeds. The seed never reached its potential. Some seeds fell in shallow soil, and so it spurred up, but because the roots never grew deep enough, whenever the sun beamed down, it hit with it up very quickly and died almost immediately. Some started to grow, but then some other plants with thorns choked the life out of that little emerging plant. And Jesus said it was the worries and the concern of this life. You see the metaphor of this parable. Some people, they have potentials, but they never go anywhere. Some start to grow, but then they fade away because of things that happen in their life. Some start to thrive spiritually, but the worries, the concern, the bills, the struggles of life chokes out spiritual growth. But then Jesus said a seed that falls on good soil, it multiplies. It multiplies 30 times. It multiplies 60 times, it multiplies 100 times. That one seed becomes a massive blessing because it was planted in good soil. Who do you think that flourishes in the scripture? Those who are planted in the house of the Lord. A seed can only grow if it is planted. Second thing about seed, and I hope that you understand this, that going to church isn't the same as being planted in a church. Going to church is not the same as being planted in a church. Because church is something more than just a building. There's a real difference. You can hear it in the language. For example, some of us, if you go to church, and here's probably what you might have said this week, maybe last Sunday. Yeah, hey, kids, are we going to church today? Don't know for sure, eh? I'm kind of busy, it's been a busy week, and there's a lot going on, and you know, the kids got a game on, and I'm kind of tired, maybe we must just chill, start the fire early, have a ride, just, you know, it's been hard, swim in the pool, and I don't know, maybe we shouldn't go to church. You know, maybe, as a matter of fact, maybe we shouldn't ride or anything. Let's just go to our favorite restaurant. Okay, maybe we should, no, we mustn't go to church today. Okay? But listen, when you are planted, you will say, hey, are we going to church today? No, you're not going to say it, because church isn't a destination to which you attend. Church is a posture. It's who you are. We don't ask ourselves, are we going to church? It's really not negotiable when you are planted into church. You should never ever say, are we going to church? Because we are the church.
Amen.
We are worshipping God. It's not a destination to which we attend. It is the identity of who we are. We are the church. I mean, you will never ever say that to your kids. Hey kids, should we eat today or shouldn't we eat today? What do you guys think? Should we eat or do you want to eat? I mean, I don't know. Let me think about it. Do you want to eat? I mean, you're never going to ask your kids, do you want to breathe some oxygen today? Are you in the mood for oxygen today? No? See, what we need to realize is the Greek word translation for church and what that meaning is. The word in the Greek language for church is ecclesia. Ecclesia. Now, what does ecclesia mean? It means really two things. It means both gathering or assembly. In other words, if you listen to a preacher recording on Facebook or on WhatsApp, that's good. That's good. And we make that available every Sunday. And I recommend that you do. Miss the service, listen to it. But that's not the same as being planted in the house of the Lord. In the same way, I don't want to have a relationship connection with my children through a voice message on a cell phone. Yeah. That I send to them. I want them assembled in my house. I want my children assembled in my house because I'm the father and I love it when my family gather together. You see, it's an assembly. It's a gathering. But the word ecclesia, ek, meaning out, and ecclesia coming from the word kleo, which means called. It literally means the called out ones. In other words, we gather together to be unified together. We gather together to honor God. We gather together to corporately hear the word of God and worship God. We gather together to use our gifts. But as we are strengthened, it's not what happens inside the church, but it's the church that we are as we go out of the building, which is called the church. Are you hearing? You see, when you are planted, it exists for us. When we are followers of Christ, we realize that we are the church and we exist for the world. And there's a massive difference between going to a building and being plugged into a calling, into a movement, into a mission, because we are planted in a house of God. Now let me give you two scenarios. And this happens all the time. I come across this all the time. Let's take a person A and a person B. And I want to ask you to think, which one are you? Person A goes to church, and the version of the story is kind of different. Like, he will say, I didn't expect to see what I got, and there was the song that they were singing, or it was on a projector, and wow, the song spoke to me, or the message was like almost as if the minister was talking directly to me, and someone in that church was nice to me. They loved me, they smiled at me, they greeted me, and I felt so guilty, but then I felt loved and I felt accepted. Some version say, well, I felt empty on the outside and I recognized I had a spiritual need, so I called out to Jesus and my life has changed. Then what does happen to person A? Well, is they don't ever really connect with the other believers in the church. They never really take on the mission of the church for themselves. They still go to church, but they kind of watch worship from a distance. They don't contribute. They're not really giving. They're not really serving. There's no real emotion behind it. They're still going to church. 3 years later, you'll see almost every time they will be there for Easter. And every now and again, it's them. And they're on the membership list. And they're on the WhatsApp group. And they follow you on Facebook. But 3 years later, the marriage may be suffering. Kids growing up. And one of them is taking drugs and drinking a lot. They don't really like their job. Don't really love the house. In other words, they are not flourishing. Still may be saved, but they're not flourishing. It's person A. Person B goes to church. Same kind of version of sorts. Message speaks to him, the song speaks to him, person speaks to him, God answers a prayer to him. I need Jesus, God comes and provides for him and ministers to him. Then instead of not connecting, person B develops some kind of a relationship. And someone else is praying for them because they recognize that they're not themselves. And they're praying for someone else because they recognize that someone else has the same kind of situation as they had. And so they start ministering and praying for someone, and God actually uses them to make a change in another person's life. And they recognize that God has given them gifts. And instead of just going to church, they are using the gifts in the church. And suddenly, the church isn't a destination that they attend, it's an identity that they embrace. I'm part of the family of God, you hear them say. Then our roots grow deep and suddenly life. Not perfect, not always great, but when the storms come, the tree can withstand the storm because the roots are deep and they stay connected to God. See, there's a big difference between going to the building and being planted in the house of God. Because what happens when you are planted? Let me give you two things. Number one, when you are planted, your roots grow deep. Your roots grow deep. Let me give you an example in Jeremiah 17, verse 8. Let's have a look at that scripture. He will be like a tree, what? Planted by the waters that send out its roots by the stream. It does not fear when heat comes. Its leaves are always green. It has no worries in a year of drought and never fails to bear fruits. There are like trees that are planted along the side of the river. The roots reach deep into the water. When the roots grow deep, what happens? Such trees don't get bothered by the heat or worried by the long months of drought. I wonder how many of you right now that you've got some kind of a heat in your life. There's some spiritual heat happening in your life. There are some trials. I wonder how many of you, on the other hand, would say, I'm in a drought right now, and we are in a physical drought right now, but I'm in a spiritual drought right now. See, because that's not what I would like to see. When the roots grow deep, they are not bothered. It's not bothered by the heat. It's not bothered by the drought. Because I'm connected to a source that is greater than any problem that is on the surface. Amen? Amen. The roots grow deep. In fact, I did some research on roots. And I looked up redwood trees because, you know, I only work on a Sunday, so I've got the rest of the week to actually look up things on the internet. Okay? So I had the time to do that kind of stuff. So here's what I find fascinating. The redwood tree are the tallest living things on the planet Earth. They can literally grow up to 30-story high. And they can be 3 stories wide. Now, how in the world does a tree grow 30 stories high? I will tell you how. The roots are deep. The root system can grow up to 30 meters, either down or to the side. What happened is, you got this 30-story high tree with roots going way, way, way down. And then over there you got another 30-story tree with roots going all the way down. And what happened is the roots actually intertwine. And beneath the ground, where nobody sees, that tree and this tree and this tree are intertwined to each other. There's a support system that sustains them and grows them and strengthens them above the ground. Interesting, isn't it? This is what we need in the body of Christ. We need each other. Here's what I can promise you. I can promise you this week, you are going to face opposition. I can promise you, you are going to have trials. I can promise you this week, you're going to struggle with something. You might have a setback. You will interact with a crazy person. And if you don't interact with a crazy person, I can give you 3 of people, crazy person that I interact with. They're everywhere. You will face some kind of opposition. And if you face that opposition alone, you are more vulnerable. I'm going to tell you right now, I don't think the devil minds if you just go to church. It doesn't bother him. I don't think the devil minds that at all. The only one thing that he does mind is that if you are planted in the church that you go to. If your spiritual enemy who wants you to be isolated, because when you are isolated, you are vulnerable. We need the family of God. I need you. You need me. You need the person next to you. And I'm not just talking about your spouse, but the person in front of you or behind you. They need you, you need them. I cannot tell you what our family has meant to us as a family, praying for us. When I was in hospital, when the kids were sick, when Tammy was sick, this was a tough year for us. I mean, health-wise, it's been a tough year. But we are strong and we are blessed and we are encouraged because our roots are being supported by your roots. We need one another. Your roots grow deep and intertwine with our roots. Second thing about that which is planted, the roots produce fruit. They grow deep and they produce fruit. Look again in Jeremiah 17 verse 18. With roots that reach deep in the water, such trees are not bothered. We are not bothered by the heat or worries or the long months of drought. The leaves stay evergreen and they never stop producing fruits. You see, when you are planted, you produce fruit. Now, what is fruit? Well, the Apostle Paul talks about this in the 5th chapter of the book of Galatians. He calls it the fruit of the Spirit. It's not our own natural fruits, it's spiritual fruits that come from God. In other words, when we are connected to the spiritual vine, God produces spiritual fruit. And Paul says that there would be love, there will be joy, there will be peace and patience, and kindness and goodness and gentleness and faithfulness and self-control. Those are the fruits of the Spirit. When you are planted, all these good things come up. Even if you are in a very difficult time, even if you are in a very difficult season, love still comes out, doesn't it? Joy still comes out in the midst of a trial. You can consider pure joy whenever you face trials and difficult times because you are planted. God is doing something special in you, and then you begin to recognize these fruits are not just for you. That your love blesses other people, that your joy is contagious, that your peace is attractive, and your faithfulness builds the relationships around you. And suddenly you realize, I am planted and I'm making a difference, I'm becoming, and I am a church. Come on. What I want you to do is just try this a little bit. Just try it. Just pray for someone. Just give to somebody. Just make a difference in someone's life. Just be a voice of encouragement this coming week to someone who doesn't feel encouraged. Just go and serve someone. Just welcome someone who looks different and says, I was so afraid to come, but you loved me. You put your arm around me. You held my hand. You shook my hand. Then you get that hit. You get that buzz. You get the thrill. You get that high and say, oh my goodness, God chose me to make a difference in that person's life. Then miss a week of being planted. Miss a week. And have someone in your group reach out to you and says, where were you? Who missed you? It was not the same without you. Is everything okay? And you realize, oh my goodness, I'm getting someone's root in my place. This isn't just a place where I go to. I don't just go to church, but it's a family. I'm needed here. God needs me to do what He created me to do, and I'm known and I'm loved because I'm planted in the house of God. And then you recognize I'm not just saved from my sins, I am saved for the glory of God to make a difference in this world. There's such a difference between going to church, which is not God's highest calling, and being planted in the house of the Lord. Who is that that flourishes? Only can a seed that's planted grows and flourish. It's time, people. It's time. And if you're a follower of Christ, it's time. Do you really think you can find a way through a spiritual opposition, fight off the potential devil by just going to church once a month? You really think that's possible? I can tell you, no. It's not. It's time, and I mean this is so much that I just want to say, if it's not this church, if it's not St. Columbus, because this church is not for everybody. As much as we say everyone is welcome, this church is not for everybody. And I personally, if this church is not for you, I will personally look with you for another church. Because there are plenty. And they're good churches. I know the shepherds personally. And if you are looking for the perfect church, and you find one, here's a hint. Don't join that church. Because you're going to mess it up. You're not going to find a perfect one. Find one. And be planted in it. Be planted. If you can't plug in here, understand. And please get planted at one of these other places. Because God has so much for you and He wants you to be flourished. How are you doing? I'm flourishing, I'm thriving. Life is not perfect, but my roots are deep. My faith is strong. My brothers and sisters are praying for me and are missing me. I am needed and I'm loved. I'm a part of something. I don't just go to a building. I am church. I'm God's ambassador in this world. I'm assembled. And then I go, I'm strengthened, planted in the house of the Lord. That is what we should say. You say, well, I tried. I went 3 weeks in a row and nothing happened. Listen, it takes time for a tree to grow. It takes time. It also takes 5 other things for a tree to flourish. It takes soil, it takes light, it takes water, it takes temperature, it takes time. You can see who's been helping his daughter study biology in the last week. It takes soil. And Jesus said it takes good soil, your heart. It takes light. Thy word, O Lord, is a lamp unto my feet and a light to your path. It takes water. Jesus is the living water who washes and renews my soul. It takes temperature. The fire of the Holy Spirit warms the seed planted in your heart. And it takes time. When is the best time to plant a tree? The answer is 20 years ago, 30 years ago, 40 years ago, 50 years ago. When is the best time for you to have been planted in the house of the Lord? Choose a number. But when is the next best time to be planted? The next best time to be planted is now. Now is the time, because God wants you to flourish like evergreen, stable, strong cedar or the victorious, triumphant palm. Only those who are planted in the house of the Lord and those who truly can flourish in God. Ask yourself the question, why do you come to church? Why do you come here? Are you just going to church? Because if you are just going to church, stop! Stop going to church. Do yourself a favor, and if that's all you're doing is going to church, stop going to church. Right now. But if you go to church because you are planted or want to be planted, and you're going to grow up and up in the house of the Lord. Ask yourself the question, why am I here today? If you know of someone who should have been here and should have heard this message, we recorded it, let them listen to it, and let them be planted in the church. If it's not in this church, let them be planted in another church, but let them be planted in a church. Amen? Amen. Amen. We're going to